So, I normally don't do videos like this, but considering this is basically an Alien game, and I am a huge fan of Aliens, I felt like I had to do this. So I'm going to be doing basically what Jim Sterling does, like a best of Steam Greenlight thing for SCORN. Now, I will say I am about to play the trailer, I'm about to look at the trailer and talk to you all about it. These two trailers that you're about to see are very, very disturbing. They are in the H.R.GIGER art style. It's very fleshy, very bloody, so if you are not a fan of H.R.GIGER's art style, or if you are very squeamish, I would advise probably skipping this video, or at least looking away from the trailer, because there is going to be some very messed up images that you're about to see. So, let's get into the trailer! So, this trailer is the second trailer that they have brought out. This one is going to be the updated trailer. They've got a Kickstarter trailer which doesn't look as good that I'll be playing later on in the video, but this is the one they released like literally yesterday. So I'm going to now press play on this and we're going to watch it together. So just for me to sync it up, 3, 2, 1, play. So as you can see, we are starting off with, once it fully zooms out, the fleshiness. Just letting you know again, this is quite a squeamish trailer. You're going to be seeing a lot of this imagery here of blood and flesh mixed with the chitinous plating that the xenomorphs use, and yeah, it's pretty, you will see. There you go. There you go. That's what you'll see. So if you're not a fan of that, I would now definitely advise switching off, because we have got a lot of that imagery to come, like this temple with a Cthulhu eldritch beating heart and what appears to be a spinal column as a corridor, which we will be exploring more in the gameplay, and this man who does not look happy to be trapped within an egg sack and being fed upon, I guess, because obviously the egg sac is doing something to him, and it's attached to what appears to be some sort of pipe that's going up there. Again, the art style looks absolutely fucking disgusting, and I love it. Like, they have captured H.R.GIGER's art style down to a T, which again we'll see more in the gameplay half of this trailer, where we go into all of the temples and you can see all of the, I don't know how to explain it, like the metal pipes that the xenomorphs have, you know, on their body, like the metal pipes covered in flesh. So it fades out, and this is now the gameplay part. And here you go, this is what I mean about like the alien temple. You know, you can see all these chitinous pipes with all of like the gas and stuff coming out, and I believe that this is the main character. This is the abomination that we are going to be playing with his little flesh gun there, and wherever this is, his face trapped inside that shell. And there is the spinal corridor that we're going to be walking down, and then we see this creature, which you've got to feel bad for. Like, oh, that's beautiful. That's how we switch ammo. Well, you gotta feel bad for this thing. Like, it does not look happy. And in the description, it says ammo is limited. I would shoot that thing just to put it out of its misery. And again, here's some more beautiful xenomorph-like structure. I guess this is like a main temple with all these archways. Really does remind me of the Alien Homeworld LV-423, and like how the Alien Queen's eggs would just slide out of those little doorways that are on the sides of the temple there. So I'm looking forward to this, and obviously we get the SCORN logo in the alien-like art style, and it is part 1 of 2. Apparently the game is so big that they want to split this up into 2 parts. And considering that they are an indie developed team, and I mean, it already looks that good, just like that little corridor and the changing of the gun. Considering they're an indie developed team and it already looks this good, I've got no problem with them splitting it up into 2 parts. If it becomes like Albino Lullaby, you know, Albino Lullaby, first part was good and they are almost done with the second part. If they are going to do like 3 parts like Albino Lullaby, or in this case as it said 2 parts, and both parts are excellent because they, you know, released the first part, then they had time to work on the second part, I've got no problem with that. But that was the trailer, so I'm going to cut this audio here, and then we're going to get into the next part of the audio, which is the description. So, while the description is going, here is some beautiful concept art from the SCORN team that I will let play over the description. So, I'm going to read it now, and I'll let you all look at this amazing art that they've put together. So, SCORN is an atmospheric first-person horror adventure game set in a nightmarish universe of odd forms and somber tapestry. Not sure I'd use the word somber there. Maybe sombra, turning a happy, nice, colourful world into a horrible, nightmarish, dystopian future. It is designed around an idea of being thrown into a world, isolated and lost. Inside this dreamlike world, you... Again, I'm not sure I would use the words dreamlike, more extremely nightmarish, like what Laylock did in Tak 2 Staff of Dreams, where he turned this beautiful ethereal dream world into a horrible, twisted nightmare land full of creatures like the Dream Guardian that look goddamn awesome. Ah! Got you, you see! I bet you all thought I was going to say Phantasma turning the dream realm into a nightmare realm. Well, you got that one wrong. Regardless, it is designed around the idea of being thrown into a world, isolated and lost. Inside this dreamlike world, you will explore different interconnected regions in a non-linear fashion. The unsettling environment is a character itself. Every location contains its own theme, brackets, story, puzzles and characters that are integral in creating a cohesive, lived-in world. Throughout the game you will open up new areas, acquire different skill sets, weapons and various items, and try to comprehend the sights presented to you. Gameplay features. Cohesive, lived-in world. SCORN takes place in an open-ended world with different interconnected regions. Each region is a maze-like structure with various rooms and paths to discover. All the storytelling happens in-game, with no cutscenes to distract you from the grisly reality of the living, breathing world you're in. But keep your eyes open. The game won't show you any sympathy if you miss something important on your uneasy travels. Everything has a reason and a purpose. You just need to work out what it is. I'll come back to that one. Full body awareness. Players will experience better immersion, being aware of the character's body and movement. Interactions with the world is realistic. Objects are picked up with your hands instead of just floating in midair. Machines and instruments are operated by grabbing the controls, etc. So basically it just means it's very immersive. So, for example, if there was a button that you needed to press, when you press the button on your controller to activate the machinery, rather than the button just going in magically or the lever going down magically, you will see your character model like reach out and press the button or reach out and pull the lever. So that's good. Inventory and ammo management. It is defined and limited. It plays a big role in keeping the player in an even greater state of awareness throughout the whole game. Players will have to think about when to fight and when to take cover, and how their actions affect the world around them. Different playstyles will be needed to advance. Again, I will come back to that once I finish the description, because it's all leading up to something that sounds very familiar. Scorn Part 1 of 2, ? Is the game split into parts? Yes, we are planning to release it in 2 parts, with the first part coming in 2017. These 2 parts represent everything that will be done. There will be no DLC, no expansions or sequels. Ever. So let's talk about a few things that I did see there which are very ambitious, and you're going to have to convince me there, Scorn team. So, and while this is going on, by the way, I will play their Kickstarter trailer. I will come back to the Kickstarter in a moment because I did email Scorn and they did send me an email back responding to a few questions I had. Should have asked them about this though, now that I think about it. But the part where it says, where is it? The game won't show you any sympathy if you miss something important on your uneasy travels. Everything has reason and purpose, you just need to work it out. And then later down the line where it says, players will have to think about when to fight, when to take cover, and how the actions affect the world around them. I've heard this before, and everything in the world has purpose, everything has consequence, is bollocks. Like, I'm sorry, Scorn team, but you're really going to have to convince me on this everything has purpose, because there have been other games, such as Undertale, where apparently everything had purpose. For example, the very first room of Undertale, or the very first set of rooms in Undertale, when Toriel is guiding you around the rooms, there is a bowl of sweets, and you can choose to take one sweet, and then it'll ask whether you want to take another one, take another one, take another one. So you can either be good, take the one sweet that is being offered to you, or you can keep tipping them over, or you can keep taking them and taking them and taking them, and you'll tip over the bowl of sweets and it'll say that you got too greedy. Now that could potentially be a action that has consequence. You know, you were a dick, you took too many sweets, it's going to have repercussions. Or you took the one free one that was offered to you and no more, you walked away, you did good, and the game will reward you for it later down the line. You know, that's the kind of things that have consequence. But the sweet thing in Undertale was absolute bollocks. It was all bollocks. Like, I know, and this is just going to be for all of the people that are going to come running to my comment section defending Undertale. I'm not going to say Undertale was a bad game. It was a great game, but all this stuff about every action had consequence, it was a lie. Like, again, the sweet thing. Buying the sweet thing didn't do anything, or taking the sweets didn't do anything. Getting Tem money for Colleague doesn't do anything. Like, yeah, you can get Tem armor, and she's grateful for you paying for her college, but it doesn't affect the game in any way. Like, even if you can't buy Temmie's armor because it's ridiculously expensive, if you give her the money to go to college, she's thankful, but nowhere down the line does it come back to be like, oh, he paid for my college, he's a good man, or he didn't pay for my college, he's a dick. Like, all these things that in Undertale where it's like every action has consequence, it doesn't. It all comes down to, in the end, how many people you killed. Like, if you were nice, or if you were somewhat nice and it was like a completely blind playthrough and you only killed a few people to level up because you're treating it like a normal RPG, you'll get the neutral ending with Omega Flowey. If you were a complete dick and killed everyone, you would get the bad ending with Sans and Shara. And if you were extra special nice to everyone, you would get the true ending with Azriel Mima.
It's time to stop!
So that's all that mattered. It just depended how many people you killed. If you killed everyone, bad. You killed some people, neutral. Killed no one, good. So all of these every action has consequence things where it's like, oh, how many sweets you're going to take from the bowl, or are you going to pay for Temmie to go to college? all these actions that were supposed to have consequence had no consequence whatsoever. It was a lie. It was just based on how many people you killed. So, to you, SCORN team, I hope that you're doing something more than Undertale. Like, it's a very big statement to say everything has reason and purpose, because does everything really have reason and purpose? Because it's very hard for me to say that. You know, again, there's been other games like even Fallout 4 with Bethesda. They were saying every piece of junk has reason and purpose. You can, you know, upgrade your guns with the junk. You can break the junk down for screws. You can build houses. Every item in Fallout 4, every single item in Fallout 4 has reason and purpose. But it really doesn't, because if you ever need to upgrade your gun and you need screws or super glue or whatever, you just buy it from a shop. Like, you go to any shop, like the woman in Diamond City, and you go through her junk and you just look at all the junk she's got and see which pieces of junk have got, like, the glue and the screws in, buy those, and then just sell all of your other shit back. So every item in Fallout, while they said every item has purpose, everything has a reason, it doesn't, because you just buy it from a shop, so you don't have to waste time, like, cluttering up your inventory. So when you say everything has reason and purpose, you just need to work out what it is. Is that true? I'm very skeptical that absolutely everything has purpose. And again, going down, you know, further down the line, how your actions will affect the world around you. Again, does it, or is it literally just how many people you killed and or saved? Are you pulling an Undertale where everything just basically comes down to how much of a dick you are? Or, you know, kind of like an Earthworm Jim, this is the only one that I can come back to. Is it more like Earthworm Jim, where at the very beginning of the game, you can choose to launch the cow, and you don't see the cow until the end of the game, and if you launched the cow would crush the princess, but if you didn't launch the cow, then you get the good ending where you get to kiss the princess. So, is it more like Earthworm Jim, where, you know, like the cow will get launched and it will affect gameplay later on, or is it just like Undertale, where nothing affects the gameplay except how much of a dick you've been? So, you might want to address that one a little bit more. As for everything else, it all sounds great, you know. Inventory management, you have nailed exactly what makes survival horror good. It's basically Silent Hill 2 in terms of how you've made the horror atmosphere. Like, many people think that horror comes from being defenseless, like with, oh God, I've got to think of like a horror game that isn't total garbage, because I was going to say Slender Man, but that's not really even a horror game. But that's the only one. Amnesia is a good one. Like, a lot of these creators thought that being defenseless and being weaponless was what made the survival horror, but it's not. Like, you can have a weapon, but the ammo's got to be scarce, so it adds more of a thinking situation. Like, with Amnesia, every time the monster appears, run and hide in the closet. And the monster appears so frequently in Amnesia that it does get very boring and tedious. Whereas something where you've got a weapon but it's limited, like Silent Hill 2, when you are forced to go into a battle, you're under a lot of stress, under a lot of panic, for example, on what to do. You've been told that medkits, ammo for your gun, etc., etc. You know, like in this game, they're saying player skills, so maybe there's some sort of magic meter. You know, magic, ammo, and just general health is very scarce. So when you come across something like a nurse, for example, in Silent Hill 2, do you fight it? Do you waste some of your precious ammo? or do you run? And because you've got to make this extra decision, because you're there thinking about the decision on what to do with this monster, it's getting closer, you don't have time to think, you've got to make a decision, now, make it! And it puts you under a lot of stress, a lot more panic, and then you may end up making the wrong decision, wasting a bit of ammo. So, with survival horror, there is a very fine line on being defenseless, like Amnesia, and having some defense, but being forced into an uncomfortable position of when to waste your ammo, because you'll have ammo, but you'll never know the right time to use it, so you'll always be scared to use it. So, in terms of inventory management, from how you're describing it as everything is finite and limited, like ammo, you have done that right, so good for you there. And then the last thing is the DLC, or the split into two parts thing where there won't be DLC. I'm not too sure how to feel about that. Like, it says, yes, we are planning on releasing this in two parts. These two parts represent everything that will ever be done. There will be no DLC. Alright, you know what? That's great. I can completely agree with you on there. A lot of companies will try and put microtransactions in, try and add DLC. You know, they will try and nickel and dime you. You don't want to do that. That's good. That one I can agree on. No expansions. Again, I can agree on that. If you want to make a living, breathing, cohesive world, and you just want to basically glue the two maps together, because I don't know how you're going to do part 1 and part 2 if, like, you've got part 1's save data on your computer, and then when you get part 2, it just kind of glues part 2's map onto part 1, so it's just like one big map. I don't know what you're going to do with part 2, but, you know, no expansions, that's fine. If you want to make just one big world, like Skyrim, for example, by gluing the two parts together, and that's good enough, that's fine. You know, that's what your game is about. And, you know, even Skyrim, for example, with their DLCs, it didn't really add extra worlds, for example. Like, it didn't add full-on areas, except for maybe with the Dragonborn one. So, it wasn't really needed. Skyrim was fine as it was. So, it's fine if you don't want to have an expansion pack. I agree with that. The last one, however, is rather interesting. No or sequels ever. So this is the one and only SCORN game. They are not planning on making any sequels ever. Now, as I have stated, I am very interested in this project. I myself have greenlit it, and I will leave a link to their Greenlight page below for you to greenlight it, if you so wish, if you think this looks interesting. I already know that Andy has also greenlit this project, and according to all of the comments on the Greenlight page and all of the discussions that are going on, like one topic is H.R.GIGER and everybody loving the H.R.GIGER art style, a lot of people are obviously loving it. They're very interested in it, and if this project comes to fruition, it comes to be a great game. We'll have to see next year. If it gets that good, and part 2 comes out, and part 2 is even better than part 1, and it gets a very big following, people will be asking for a sequel. And it's in this weird position of, you know, if it's that good, if it's that popular, that good, why would you not make a sequel? But at the same time, I get it, because looking at the past H.R.GIGER art, for example, or the past game that featured H.R.GIGER's art style, which was Darkseed, yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want to make a sequel. You know, Darkseed 1 had the H.R.GIGER art style. It was creepy, it was weird, it was off the wall. It was alright, it was an alright, you know, point-and-click adventure game. Then there was Darkseed 2, which was, well, it wasn't really that good, was it, Mikey boy? So, yeah, I can see both sides here. Like, if it's really, really good, then a lot of people are going to be asking for a sequel, and there's no reason why there couldn't be a sequel. But at the same time, as developers, you're probably thinking like, oh man, this game was really good, we should make a sequel. yeah, but look how the other H.R.GIGER sequel thing turned out with Darkseid 2. Yeah, Darkseid 2 was kind of shit, wasn't it? So maybe we shouldn't make a sequel. So that's a tough one. I mean, we can only but see what happens when the game actually comes out. Again, I'm very looking forward to it. And lastly, to wrap up here, is the email I got back from them. Let me just go to my emails, where I basically messaged them with a few questions, and, you know, they're really glad that I'm liking SCORN, and I'll be linking them this video just to show my appreciation, because good on you guys, it looks great. Except for maybe that thing of everything in the world has consequence. Does it really? And I asked them a few questions, and I got a few answers out of them. I first asked them, like the System Shock trailer, you know, System Shock have got a Kickstarter going, and they have released a public pre-alpha demo on Steam. I asked them if they will be making a demo of the game for the public later on, so not just like a review copy, but kind of what System Shock has done, where they've released a full pre-alpha demo for absolutely everybody to play to go back their Kickstarter. So I said, will you be releasing a full public demo, pre-alpha or otherwise? They still haven't decided on that yet, but maybe. They did have a Kickstarter. I showed you the Kickstarter trailer moments ago, and I said, will the Kickstarter be reopening, or did you get funding from another source? Because the Kickstarter got cancelled, so it was doing rather well. I checked out their Kickstarter page, obviously because they had a Kickstarter trailer, because I was like, I want to go fund this. Like, I thought that this was a new thing. I wanted to go fund it, and it was doing rather well. You know, it looked like it was on point to make its goal, but then they've cancelled it, like, halfway through the investment. So I was wondering what was up with that, and they said that we are fully funded from a private source. It happened 2 months after the Kickstarter. So there you go. Apparently when they cancelled the Kickstarter for whatever reason, 2 months later a private source picked it up. So good for them, and because a private source has fully funded them, they will no longer need to reopen the Kickstarter. So there we go. But depending on how this is going, because I don't know about the Part 1 and Part 2, but if you need to do a Kickstarter for Part 2, you know, I would be all for that. Because, you know, I would love some memorabilia from SCORN. Like, if you've got some SCORN memorabilia that's, you know, physical, I would back for that. I would back for some physical SCORN stuff. So if you need to make a Kickstarter for Part 2, then totally go for it. But maybe this fully funded from a private source means that both Part 1 and Part 2 are funded. I didn't ask that question. Is it possible for a release date on Part 1? They can't really promise anything at the moment. It's just guaranteed for 2017. So no matter what, it's launching in 2017. And lastly, I put in a request for a review copy, just wondering if because it's been funded by a private source, it could also be meaning that review copies will be limited. And they've said that they will most likely be releasing review copies and to send them an email closer to the release date. So very nice people answering all of the questions, and it looks great. It looks fantastic. You know, as again, definitely, if you are interested in H.R.GIGER's art style, if you are a fan of the original Alien films, the original Darkseid game, maybe Darkseid 2 is your guilty pleasure, or just anything by H.R.GIGER, definitely go greenlight this game. This is not your crappy digital homicide stuff. This is Greenlight good stuff, as Jim Sterling puts it. This is good shit right there.
Good shit, that's some good shit right there.
So definitely go greenlight that, because it's looking great, guys. SCORN team is looking absolutely fantastic. Just maybe want to explain every action has consequence, because does it really? So that's the video. But of course, you may have noticed when the trailers and the art haven't been on screen, and it's been me in my little office here, you may have noticed that in the bottom left corner, there has been a Patreon shout out down below, because this lovely individual has backed me on Patreon, so now I've actually got to get his name for realsies, and it's amazing. It's absolutely, you know, amazing that he did this. Like, this is my first ever Patreon backer. Obviously, I do have a Patreon because I want to keep this show ad-free, and, you know, rather than monetizing the YouTube videos, forcing you all to watch adverts, that's why Patreon's there, to keep it as ad-free as completely possible. And when people back $10, they will have their names read out on every video first of the month. So when the first of the month comes round, every video that I make on the first of every month, they will have their name and a little picture of them in the corner there. Obviously, this guy does not have a picture, that's why he's just this brown grey avatar box thing. But thank you. I mean, he only pledged $5, but because he was the very first one, he's extra special. I cherish him like my own child because he's the very first one. But everybody else, you know, $10 gets your name down there, and I thank this man enough. Apparently, my notifications on Patreon are not loading, so it's not letting me see your name. So I actually might have to cut the video and read your name out momentarily. I'm going to try once more to get the notification to load, please. And if not, I'll just quickly pause this audio. But we will see. But yeah, thank you so much for your donation. I really appreciate it. You are fantastic. You, sir, are fantastic. Give me 1 second while my notifications load so I can read your name out. Okay, Patreon is now working again. So, thank you. And now this is a JU. I assume that you are of Spanish or some kind of Spanish equivalent descent, and the JU translates to H like it does in Spain. So I'm going to assume that it's HU rather than Jew. So thank you, Huzo. I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I apologize, but thank you so much to Huzo Wallenius. Huzo Wallenius. Thank you so much. And again, I'm very sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. I'm trying. But yes, thank you, Huzo. You are the best. You are everything that I love and cherish. Thank you so much for your very generous donation of $5. I appreciate it so much. My first ever backer. Jesus, I don't know how to react. It's all happening so fast. You know, yesterday, last week, or no, it was literally 2 days ago, wasn't it? I put a 500 subscriber video, and, you know, I said thank you to 513 subscribers, and then as I made that video, I made an addendum and said it's gone up to 516, and now it's just shot up to 583. Like, it's just, my channel's grown at such an exponential rate, and now I've got my first backer at $5. It's all happening so fast. Oh, I think I'm coming down with the Vipers. So yeah, I'm so proud of you all. I'm so happy. I'm pleased. I thank you, all of you. Thank you so much, especially you, Huzo, for being my first ever backer, Patreon, whatever you call it. Thank you so much, Huzo Wallenius. You are great. You're all great. I love you all. You are all fantastic. But that is the backer shout out. So if you're feeling like a generous backer, the first video of every month, or the video that goes up on the first of every month, you too could join Huzo in having your name read out. But that's the end. We're not here to gush. We're not here to gush, even though it is a little bit of a gushing, because it's kind of a backer video, if you will. And I'm gonna go now. So yeah, SCORN, looking fantastic, looking very good, and I thank you all for watching this. I guess it's a Let's Look At. I don't know what to call it. I don't normally do these Steam Greenlight things. I just did it because I'm a huge fan of the Alien series and H.R.GIGER. But whatever you'd like to call this, whatever I come up with the title for this is, regardless, thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, if you want to see me do more Steam Greenlight stuff, then please let me know in the comments section below. Leave a like on this video. Let me know in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on any extra content, then feel free to subscribe. And of course, there are all the other links to my channels below, like Twitter and Patreon, if you want to see what I'm doing right now at this moment while the video is, you know, rendering and uploading, because I'm always tweeting on Twitter. And obviously, like Huzo, there's a Patreon link if you want to go that extra mile, but of course you don't have to. But thank you all again. It's amazing how quickly I jumped from 500 to 583. It was ridiculous. But thank you all again, and I'll see all of you in the next one.